I'll give a quick introduction for everybody that doesn't know me. My name is Erika
Okay.
Davis Temple, now newlywed. I kept the Davis and just added the Temple on there. I'm kind of like Tina. I worked hard for my name or whatever, but America, I've been investing now since 2016. I started off primarily wholesaling, and today we're going to talk about wholesaling and starting off basically how to build a six-figure business off a shoestring budget, because shoestring budget is how I started. And so we're going to talk about that, and I hope that I can share, and I hope you guys pick up some stuff from me. So I'm going to share my screen. Feel free to ask questions. And like I said, I've been investing now for about 6 years full time, for going on three. My 3-year anniversary is March 16th of this year. And I have consistently been doing six figures. Like I said, I primarily wholesale, but I've gotten into flipping. September of last year, I Airbnb and I own rentals. So that's what we're going to get into, and I'll share how I've gotten started, and hopefully this can help somebody else get started. So let me,
Awesome. Take it away.
so if you have questions, put them in the chat. I have it up, so I'm watching and make sure that it's up, and I'll try to answer as we go along too. So let's share my screen.
Looks great. Just do presentation mode.
Yeah, and this is actually that house is actually
That's nice.
one of my flips. I'll
Cool.
have to show you guys the before picture of it, because it did not look like this at all. So creating a six-figure business from a shoestring budget. And Stacy, if you could just like help me if you see something in the chat, because I can't see it right now,
Okay, no problem.
and I'll answer the question.
Okay.
So before you get to do anything, before you start, and I didn't learn this till after, you actually need to have like a why. I didn't know the importance of it. I would consider myself like a serial entrepreneur myself, but um my why wasn't deep enough. At first, when I started, it was all about the money. I'll be real. I was just laid off. I had just split up from an ex, thank goodness. And I was working through like a temporary staffing agency at a job where I was doing accounting actually, where I met my friend, now friend and mentor. She had posted that she made like $10,000 in 1 month. I didn't know how she made it. Didn't really care. $10,000. I was paycheck to paycheck, barely making it with my then only one kid at that time, feeling like I was robbing Peter to pay Paul. I was a smart girl, college educated. I can totally do whatever she was doing. It could have been slinging magic talking phone books or whatever. I wanted to try it. But like I said, my vision at first, it was, or my goal, my why was just to make money. But when I got deeper into it, it was bigger than the money. It was really my kids, now kids, as the center focus. And when you have your why, that's what'll keep you going, because this is not easy by no means. You have to have a reason to want to push through when the days aren't easy, when you can't get a contract, or when you have title issues and everything seems to fall apart. You have to have a reason to keep going and push through that. So part of my vision now is to be financially free and live a present life with my husband and my children, not just be here, I'm in one room, they're in another. I want to actually engage and be present in their day to day. I have goals, and I try to make them attainable goals. I average about 40 to 50,000 as of last year per month, just from wholesale. This year, one of my goals for 2021 is to have six-figure months from real estate. I want to acquire 3 to 5 rentals per month. And I'm going to talk about how you can do this with little to none of your own money out of your own pockets. Um, we're going to get into creative finance. Another one of my goals is to purchase 2 to 3 multifamily units. And as always, I want to continue to learn, grow, and network. Again, my why are just my kids, my family, and serving others. So once you get your why, you then need to know like how to get started. My coach says everything seems like an opportunity when your vision isn't clear. So you guys have heard, well, you ladies have heard throughout this wonderful, wonderful webinar, a few people talk about wholesaling and what exactly it is. And like I said, that's how I primarily started. Wholesaling is a pretty simple process, but it has a lot of moving parts. If I were to give you like the simple definition of what wholesaling is, I would basically say in its simplest form, it's the act of contracting or actually purchasing a property at a discounted price and assigning your rights within that contract for a fee, or making money when you sell the property to the ultimate end buyer. But before you can even make a profit, you first have to find a house. That's the first step in wholesaling. And you can generate leads many ways. So we'll start with some of the shoestring budget ways, right? Or the energy budget ways. And that's when you basically have to figure out if you have the time or more money to address this new skill. And it's going to be different from everybody. Some people may have more money than others to devote to wholesaling. Others may have more time, but you have to find the right recipe that works well for you. So if you are like me, when I started out, I had, well, honestly, if I keep it real, it didn't seem like I had time or money because I was so busy with life. But if I had to choose, it would have been time. So I did a lot of free sourcing at first. Some of your free ways to generate leads, the first one would be referrals. Referrals from your friends and family or your network. You can ask people, hey, do you know anybody who's looking to sell a house? I'm new to investing and I'm looking to buy. Facebook, we use Facebook all the time to keep up with our friends and family, but that marketplace is full of people who list their houses and want to sell them. Other online, and it's totally free to search for houses, to list your houses. That's a free way. You also have Zillow. That's another free way, an energy budget type of way to look for houses that are for sale. And not just any for sale houses. You want to look for properties that are typically for sale by owner when you're wholesaling. That's how we get them at a deeper discount. We get off-market properties, not necessarily ones that are listed on market by real estate agents. For sale by owner sites, such as forsalebyowner.com. That's another free way to generate leads. Another way, and it costs a little money, some gas, you can drive for dollars. And no, you're not driving around looking for dollars, but you're looking for houses that you can turn into dollars if you can make a deal out of them when you find them. And all that can take, you can do it the old school way or the new school way. Old school is your cell phone, which most of us have, your camera, and you jot down the address, you take a picture, you keep it going. When you're driving, you're looking for vacant properties or houses that appear vacant or distressed. Some key indicators would be high grass, boarded windows, boarded doors, tattered blinds, a sign in the yard from the city, like a citation sign, a full mailbox, old abandoned cars in the yard, furniture outside. Those are just some signs that there may be something going on with this property. It could be empty, or it could be an opportunity for you to reach out to a landlord who is tired and want to sell. Because of the price we need to get these houses for, you have to know, once you find the property, you have to know the need, why that seller is wanting to sell their property. Because if you approach it that way with as a I want to help serve type of approach, you'll be more successful and you'll differentiate yourself from other people if you're not just looking at it like I want to make some quick cash. And when you make it all about the seller, you can do more and turn more deals. So those are some free ways that you can source your leads and find leads, or cheaper ways, or shoestring budget type ways. You can also, if you have a little more money than time to work with, you can do things like pulling a list from different sources like list source, PropStream. Those you have to pay for, but those are great options to pull your list from. You can also drive for dollars the new age way. There's an app for everything, right? So you can drive for dollars using an app, and they have some where you can find a vacant house still, but you'll take the picture with your phone and the app will instantly send out a postcard for you. The great thing about that is you can take the pictures, start the mailers, and forget about it. The other way, when you're using your energy budget, that's okay too. It's just that you're the one having to take the pictures, either write a letter or create your postcard and mail it out. And you have to remember to do that. And there's nothing wrong with either way. They both get you to the same point. It's just the amount of time that it may take getting you there. So the first step in creating this six-figure business, and we're going to use wholesaling as one of our tools in our toolbox to do it, is to find a property. And I will say, no matter what you're doing, no matter what step you're on, you want to consistently do things. If you say, I'm going to look for properties twice a week, you want to make sure that you're consistently looking twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, if that's your day, from 3 to 4 or 3 to 5, whatever time. You just want to make sure you're consistently doing it, because that way you're building up momentum to get what you need to get done. So after we found our deal, our property rather, that we can make a deal with, we need to locate the owner, because now, I said earlier, wholesaling is basically finding a property, getting it under contract to purchase or assign to others. But you can't get anything under contract if you don't first speak to the seller. So like I said, wholesaling is a simple process. It just has a lot of moving parts. So now we need to find this owner. That vacant house isn't, in most cases, isn't going to have the for sale by owner sign. When we do find those are great, like gold, and it makes it a lot easier to reach out to them. But other times we have to actually look these people up. So you have your shoestring budget ways and you have your paid ways as well to do these things. So some great skip tracing sites that are actually free are truepeoplesearch.com. You can look on the county tax assessor site, and that's your local county tax site. And you can even, I've even looked people up on Facebook. You can Google, but those are free ways to find seller information. If you have a little bit more money, some of those same apps that you find that you can use when you're driving for dollars, you can use those apps to look up the possible owners and reach out to them. So you have things like Deal Machine. There are other paid sources that you can use as well. REI Skip, Batch Skip Tracing, PropStream, and the list goes on. You just have to find which one works best for you, but you can totally look people up the free and old school way as well. When you're just getting started, you reach out to them. So let's say we find a phone number on truepeoplesearch.com, and we call the seller, and that's our next step. We reach out to the seller and we go, hey, I usually go, if it's a driving for dollars leads, I'll say something like, hey, my name's Erika. I was taking my aunt some lunch over in the area, and I just happened to be a real estate investor. I noticed the property at 123 Main Street, and it looked like it could possibly be vacant. And my system is saying that you may be the owner. I'm very interested in purchasing this property. Would you be interested in selling it? And then they'll say yay or nay. And if they say yes, you get into the questions, how long has it been vacant? Why are you selling? Because we're providing a service to the seller. We're helping them. It's not too many people that they can call to get cash for their house in 10 days. And the way you do this too, because it's illegal to um, sell homes if you are not a realtor. We in wholesaling, we operate in the gray area, in the loophole. You're not selling the house. What you're selling is your equitable interest in this contract that we're trying to get when we talk to the seller. And in some cases, you actually can still buy the house still without your money, and we'll get into that too. And then now you're the homeowner, so it's all totally okay. And if you guys have any questions, please ask me if I'm talking too fast, and I'll slow down and backtrack. So we've reached out to the seller. We found out their reason for selling. Some people, in most cases, the ones that I come across a lot are people have either inherited the house, they don't want it. They had to move due to relocating a job, divorce, and sometimes, especially in pandemic times, people simply just can't afford it. So they've been having to move. And sometimes they've been foreclosed on, sometimes they haven't due to different laws around it now where you can't evict them, you can't foreclose. So some people just need help. So they're willing to sell at that discounted price that we discussed earlier when I said gave the simple definition of wholesaling, which is contracting a property at a discounted price. And I want to go into that too, because that's kind of vague when I just say you want to get it at a discounted price, right? So numbers really matter, and it's really important to have your numbers intact from the beginning to the end, because you will be able to help the seller in the best way you can, and you can create the best profit for yourself as well. So typically, an investor only wants to pay 70% of what the house is worth, and that's all in. That's to buy it, rehab it, holding costs, everything. 70% is typically the rule of thumb there. So if you find a house that's vacant and it's worth $100,000, the most an investor would want to be all in on that house, especially if they're going to flip it, is going to be $70,000, which is 70% of that 100,000. And so that number is important because it gets us into our formula, because now we've reached out to the seller. The seller is, yeah, I want to sell. So we've talked to them. The next step is to set an appointment and actually negotiate the deal. With COVID, I kind of pride myself on being able to assist you virtually. So I've had to make a lot of offers blindly, or we'll go take a lockbox and then the seller will take the key, and then we'll go out and look at it that way. I actually have a good, bad, ugly, and mucked up scale that I teach. I think I'm the only one that does that, and I actually teach it when I mentor and coach, and I'll add that as a freebie. So, because the formula for this, and it's not listed here. So if you have your pens, and it is your Mayo, which is MAO equals, and Mayo is your maximum allowable offer. That's the highest amount that you can offer this seller to make everything still a good deal, a win-win for you and them. So your maximum allowable offer is your ARV, and that's your after repair value, how much this house will be worth after you fixed it all up, times 0.70 or 70%. And then you subtract the rehab cost and that's how much it's gonna cost you to renovate or update the property, less if you're wholesaling, how much profit you wanna make. And that's totally up to you. I shoot for 10,000 on each deal, and it's typically more. So we're gonna use this $100,000 example that I gave earlier. So if you're working with me, so let's say we have $100,000 house that we found. It looks vacant. We've been driving for dollars, right? So 100,000 will go, well, 100 will go in the ARV spot. And you're gonna take that and multiply it by 70%.
Erika, are you like showing yourself doing something? Or are you just talking?
I'm just talking, I'm
Okay.
writing it out. I can type it out.
Kind of like you were writing something out. I just wanted to make sure. Okay.
Yeah, I'm writing it out on a card, and I was gonna show the flashcard next. That's why I was like,
oh, okay, okay, all right, okay.
Follow with me if you had your notepad, and if you want, I can.
I didn't know
write.
because we don't see you on your screen. We just see your like logo. There you go. So
okay, here's me, and I
okay.
can.
Okay.
Let's see. So I was writing it out on my notepad, or my little flashcards. So we're using the $100,000 house example. So we've been driving for dollars, right? We found this house in the neighborhood. It's worth $100,000. So our formula is Mayo equals ARV, after repair value, times 70% minus rehab. I write extremely big, minus profit. So can you guys see this at all? Or is that totally backwards? I feel like it's totally backwards.
No, it looks good. Hold it up and we can see it. Looks perfect. I mean,
Okay.
It says Mayo equals ARV times 70% minus rehab minus profit.
Yes, ma'am. That's right. So we're using $100,000 as, because one, it's easy to do math and I'm not a mathematician, and I didn't want to have to whip out the calculator. So our Mayo is our maximum allowable $1,000. I'm just gonna write 100 for short, times 0.70. And then we have to come up with the rehab. And I'm gonna share more of my screen, because when I actually pull up this manual that I'm going to give you guys, because I'm not a contractor, right? I don't know how much it is. You're brand new to fix something. So my good, bad, ugly scale, it mucked up, it helps. So let's say there are 6 things that could be wrong with a house, major things that actually cost money to fix. That's your roof, your HVAC, your central air and heat, plumbing, electrical. You can have foundation issues, and flooring, not just like changing out the carpet, but like subfloor issues that can get really pricey. So I would consider a house in good condition if it needs 0 to 1 of those 6 things fixed. So let's say it's dated. It hadn't been updated in 3 to 5 years, and it's just cosmetic work. I would say on average, it would cost $5 to $10 per square foot in good condition to rehab that house. So let's say this house that we found is 1,000 square feet, to make it easy for math. And it's in pretty good condition, or we won't go good condition. If I'm doing it sight unseen or just looking at the outside and it like visibly appears vacant, typically it's going to be 3 to 4 things wrong. It may need a roof. I may be riding by and I don't see an HVAC. HVAC can be $4,000 or $5,000. So I would estimate it. When I'm giving blind offers, I always use kind of the ugly scale, and I only go mucked up unless it's like super bad, like a fire damage property, or it's just really, really bad. Like you see a big hole in the roof, you see siding missing, it's really bad, I would go $30 to $35. But typically I'll start off with $20 to $25 per square foot. So let's say the house we saw it didn't have an HVAC. I can tell it needed the roof. The outside needed some love. Typically the outside will give you an idea of what the inside looks like. So I would take $20 to $25, and you always go higher, and it kind of gives you some cushion. So I would multiply 25 times 1,000. So at the bare minimum, I'm going to plug in 25,000 for the rehab cost. So now we have 100 times 70% minus 25, because that's how much work we're guesstimating that this house is going to need. And then I like to make $10,000. Our Mayo, which is our maximum allowable offer amount that we can make to the seller, and I'm still gonna have to whip out my calculator, y'all, to get make sure I'm getting the numbers right. And if you're following along, we'll make sure we're all together. So 100 times 0.7, that gives us 70, minus 25, then minus the 10 that we want to make, that gives us $35,000. But here's the thing, you never want to offer $35,000. We never offer Mayo, because human nature is not to accept the first offer that they've been given. So what I'll do, I'll usually use this formula, and my initial offer to this seller would be something like $30,415.24. I do that because I don't want to just say 30,000. They don't know, he or she doesn't know that I actually have a formula that I go by. They may think I'm pulling it out of thin air, but I also try to be transparent, and I give them as much information as I can. I'll be like, hey, Mrs. Seller, because now they're asking me to give them an offer blindly. Hey, Mrs. Seller, I buy houses in this area all the time. And based on the square footage of your house and how much it typically will cost me to fix it, anywhere between $20 to $25 a square foot, because it's going to need a roof. We have to replace some of that siding. I didn't see any HVAC or anything like that. And you mentioned to me earlier that the electrical was dated. That's going to be about $25,000 to repair. And based on how much I can resell the house for, or I can rent it for, the most that I can offer you would be about $30,000, $30,242.50. And to help out more, I'll even pay closing costs. Now, mind you, I don't want to confuse you guys. This money is not coming from our pocket. Right now, we're just trying to simply contract the property. So now that so let's say seller says, no, I don't want to take that. I'll only take 35. I'll go, okay. Let me see how much I can come up. I can't come up from 30 too much, but I can meet you in the middle and do 33. Sometimes you have to give them the 35, but for the sake of this and time, let's say seller agrees to 33,000. So we're going to now send the seller a purchase and sale agreement, which is basically them agreeing to sell and us agreeing to buy their house for $33,000. Now we have this equitable interest that we can assign to someone else for a fee. So our Mayo, so now we're remembering the most that the investor wants to be in is 70%. So we have this property under contract now for $33,000. We have to factor in the fact that it needs $25,000 in work. So we're going to take the $70,000, that's the most they'll pay, highest and best, all in. We're going to take away $25,000 because that's how much we'll spend on fixing it. And typically your end buyers, they don't spend that much, but neither here or there. But that's how much we're saying it's going to cost to fix it. So we're at $45,000. We have the property under contract for $33,000. So let's take away 33. That leaves us with a $12,000 spread where we can make money off of that property because they're still getting it at we've gotten it at such a great deal. We still have 12,000 in wiggle room. So I would present my contract to an end buyer, somebody who's actually going to give me the cash to get this property or use their own cash to buy it. I would maybe sell it to somebody for, because 45 is our magic number, I may go 43.9. And that way you're making 43.9 minus the 33. That gives us $10,900 that you can make from doing no work to the property. You've just successfully contracted it at a discounted price, and you've now assigned it to someone else, and they're paying you a $10,900 fee for your hard work of finding this off-market property, getting it at such a damn good price. And that's work they didn't have to do. And now you've made $10,000 from essentially not risking your own cash, because they're going to pay the closing costs for the seller because that's what's in your contract. And they've now assumed your rights in this contract. And I don't want to lose anybody. And I guess you say, well, how do I find this buyer? So we're back on this shoestring budget. It's a lot of stuff you can do to find them. You can look, the same way you find the leads, you can find your buyers that way too. You can list the property on Facebook, but you're saying that you're going to, you have a contract to assign. Now, if you found the property on Facebook, I wouldn't turn around and list it there, but that's an option if you didn't find it there. There are these things called bandit signs. I don't know if you've ever been riding and you'll see a sign, like a little white sign, 2-bedroom, 3-bath house, or 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, $25,000. You don't know to look for those signs unless that's what you're looking for. And most buyers are looking, and then it'll have like a telephone number. So you can get buyers that way. You can also get houses that way. And I didn't mention that earlier. And another way would be to look on Zillow at companies that have houses for rent in the area or flips for sale in the area on Zillow. You'll look at for sale and for rent houses and look up who owns those properties. And then you'll look those companies up, reach out to them. It's kind of like reverse engineering, but reach out to those people to see if they're interested in buying another property. And most people are. If they have several rentals, most companies are willing to buy another one on that block or in that area. So you'll reach out to those people. And then you have your paid ways. If you have money, like I said, we've mentioned different apps. There's PropStream, which I personally use. I love it. You can find sellers, you can find buyers, all in one spot. So it's kind of a one-stop shop. And then you just kind of like rinse and repeat. And I kind of want to stop here, because not necessarily stop, but like open it up so you guys can ask me some questions, because I feel like I'm going on, and I don't want to give too much and make you feel overwhelmed. But once we've gotten our property contracted, we pick our exit strategy. Wholesaling is what we've been talking about. And like I said, it's easy interest, low risk, and you're not using any of your own money. Somebody is either assuming your rights in the contract, and even if you have to buy it or double close, and a few other speakers have mentioned this before, even if you have to double close on it, that's when you'll still use the end buyer's money. You'll just show up on title. Their money will sit in escrow and will cover the transaction between yourself and the seller, and will also cover that same money will cover when you're selling to the buyer. And they just sign a form saying it's going to sit in escrow. If you have the money or experience, you can fix and flip it. All of my fix and flips have been using creative finance. The first one It came by a referral. My oldest son's grandmother, her daughter was about to be foreclosed on, but due to COVID, they had not foreclosed on her yet. So I bought that home from her, subject to the existing mortgage. I caught her mortgage payments up, and then I made her monthly payments. And then as we were making the monthly payments, we rehabbed the house and we flipped it, and then we paid it off. That's a little bit more advanced because you have to do things like, in most cases, the sellers aren't supposed to just like sell their mortgage. It's not assignable. So the way around it is to keep the bank off your back, because they can call the mortgage due and you have to pay it in full at any time. We created a trust, and that basically was the property address. People put their properties in trust all the time, so it doesn't raise any red flags. And that's how I purchased some of my flips. You can also get a hard money loan, but these are more advanced things because most people want to see what experience you have and things like that. And it also takes some money out of your pocket to do. You can even get the seller to finance you, and you can do that for flips and rentals. My first rental was seller finance, and that's instead of having like a mortgage company. If the house is already paid off, the seller acts as a bank for you. And it's usually great because you set your own terms. I got my first rental property for $22,500, 10% down. And I put 2% interest in because I just didn't know any better. 2% interest and monthly payments for 60 months or $354. I actually Airbnb that property, and it brings in about $1,500 a month. So there are a lot of creative ways that you can finance your properties. But I want to open this so you guys can ask me questions, because like I said, I don't want to give too much. I want to make sure that you're still following me and everybody is still with me. But the key to this, whether you're doing shoestring budget or not, is consistency and massive imperfect action. And if you're consistent, you're going to build momentum and you're going to continuously do deals. I know for $100,000 house, it seems, who would sell their house for $33,000? The small percent of motivated people, not everybody, but most people are motivated by life or life circumstances. And this is their best way out, to sell their house for cash, or a house that they're not even using, to get cash to help them today. So if you guys have any questions, I want to just take time to answer them, because I don't want to just like overpower you with information.
I have a question.
Okay.
So, when do you decide when you're going to wholesale or flip or hold a property? How do you decide that?
Right now, and that's right now, it goes back to like being real with yourself on what do you have, and if you can actually acquire it. I usually, if I have a property now and people are just going crazy over it, and like all the buyers are, hey, I want this, I'll give you this much. I'm like, okay, hey, I might need to try to keep this one. So I wholesale some and I cherry pick the good ones for myself, or the great ones for myself. I that I buy either through partnerships, like I have a coach. I think I'm always learning. So I have a coach and I have partners, and I have one partner out in California. He'll actually like fund the rehabs, the rentals here, and the acquisition and the rehab costs. And we're 50-50 partners. I just oversee. So if I can get into them easily, and I have the crew in place that can do it, and they're not overworked, because contractors are one of the hardest things to find. And that sounds so bad, but it's hard to get people to do your jobs from start to finish. And my crew can only take on about 3 to 5 flips or rentals at a time. And because I haven't just like built out my crew more, I'm limited in that space, but I cherry pick the ones that I want. If people are going crazy over it and I can make it happen, I will. And The seller finance option, if your seller is willing to do that, that's great because they typically get more money than if you would pay them cash for it. I'm actually closing on one like that Tuesday, and I'm able to get it seller finance. I'm getting this house for $50,000. It's at currently a 2-1. When we finish, it'll be a 3-2, and it's in an area that I have flipped in before, but it'll be a 3-2 when we get done. It's about 1,250 square feet. The sellers are so nice, and we built up such rapport. I told them, hey, I may opt to get a loan to fix this property up because it'll take about $40,000. And one of my partners in hard money lenders, they like to take first position of the property. Typically, he'll fund the acquisition and you do the rehab. But in this case, I use creative finance to acquire it myself. So I just had to get the sellers to say, hey, they're okay with taking second position on it. So the terms are basically $50,000, 5% down. I'm going to pay closing costs. And in 160 business days, they'll get the rest of the payment, and I'll be making payments to them of $500 a month. And they're going to also let me, like I said, use a hard money lender to get the money to fund the full rehab. So out of pocket initially, I'm going to be out of $5,000 maybe, and I'll make about 50 off of this deal seller finance. But cherry picking is typically what I do, and making if I have my ducks in a row that I can make it happen for myself, I will. And if not, I'll wholesale.
Awesome. I love it.
And then
Sorry.
Another thing too, let me just add, I also go off time. One that I recently contracted, my VA did, I have virtual assistants as well. It would make a great flip also, but then you also have to see if you have time or what do you have more of to leverage. And we got this house for $20,000 and closing costs under contract. We're wholesaling it and we should close on the 12th. We're gonna wholesale it for, we were looking to sell it for 59, but we're gonna do it for $55,000 is what we signed the contract on. So that's no work per se, but that's a $35,000 profit. So you just have to see what you have more, what is your biggest need, and kind of decide from there what exit strategy works best for you.
Okay, cool. Awesome. I got a question. How many wholesale deals do you do a month?
On average, 5 to 6 per month right now. And like I said,
what does your team look like? How's your business set up for that?
Okay, it's myself, and then I have 2 virtual assistants right now. They primarily, one is actually on the Zoom, but they look online and they cold call. And we've had countless arguments about cold calling in Monday, and that's reaching out to people, not in Monday, in Mojo. That's one of the systems that I use to cold call. But they call on average about 1,000 people a week or more between the 2 of them. And we just recently set a 2 contract a week minimum goal, because my goal is 6 figures on average a month for this year in real estate. But that's my team. And I have a friend, she'll work with me some, and she'll go look at the properties. My husband, he helps. He'll go look. He's my locksmith, my contractor, everything. He helps a lot, but that's basically
what's your husband's name? I can't remember.
His name is D'Angelo.
I think, yeah, because I met y'all, right? If I remember correctly. Did I meet you at no. Did I meet you at Brian Tripp's event?
I think that's Brittany and Leon.
Oh, that's Brittany and Leon. Okay. So
that's Brittany and Leon.
Them as well too. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my husband, he just started like working with me like a whole lot.
Okay.
And we're trying to team this thing out with COVID, because he would be all in Georgia. And I'm like, dude, their numbers are higher than ours. How about we just work together?
Yeah.
And so we're still working out the kinks with that. But yeah, that's kind of how it looks.
Also, because I was thinking about that too, because y'all's numbers for rehabbing, I guess in Birmingham, y'all are way less than a lot of people. So, but talk about
Hmm.
that, your numbers versus because the people are nationwide across here. How do they figure out, their rehab numbers, if they're in a different area?
Talk to a contractor and then just kind of adjust the good, bad, ugly, mucked up scale from there. Like, get you a few people to come out, and do it across the board. Or you can actually Google on average, how much does it cost to do this in California? You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
then
I like
they'll usually give you like the handyman rate,
that.
the professional rate, and and that's how you do the good, bad, ugly, mucked up scale.
I love
You
that.
go from the lower and the higher end
hmm You
and do it
yeah,
that
you need
way.
a good, a bad, and an ugly number when you're doing your rehabs. I love
Yeah,
that.
good, bad, ugly, and mucked up. Cause sometimes I say mucked up because I cuss a lot and I like all the hard curse words. But in the manual, it actually says mucked up. So yeah, because some houses are just bad and
Yeah. Well,
and
do you
based
do a lot of like really big rehabs, or do you stick to the cheap, like to the lower ones?
Well, with me being so new to it, like I said, I just started September of last year, and then my realtor, I actually trained her, and she actually partnered with me on those three, and so those were pretty simple. This 2-1 that we're going to change into a 3-2. This I'm actually taking this one on solo, and this is going to be one of the biggest ones that I've done because it's
Yeah.
so much reconfiguring. The seller, bless his heart, he's sweet. He's an older white guy named Jay-Z, and I call his wife Beyonce. But he's really sweet, but he added like a 10 by 12 on the front of the house. And he wanted to add it like as another bedroom. However, you have to go through one room to get to it. There's no window, there's no closet. So you're gonna get like hit really hard on the appraisal. They're not gonna count it. So what we're going to do is he added it close to the front porch. We're going to turn that whole front porch into a master bedroom, add a nice bathroom there, just run the plumbing from the hall bath down a little. We're going to move the front door to the side, put in a window, and we have to do some changes like that. Knock out a few walls just to make it all work. But this will be by far the biggest one.
What's your price per square foot in Birmingham to do an addition or to do like a bigger rehab like that?
Well, I got one quote from one guy. He used to work with a company that I wholesale to. He quoted me $47,000, and that was including material and everything like that. That was a tad bit on the high end.
Mhm.
And the way you know that is when I started out, and I still do this, I buy a lot of my own material because that's where the contractors really will tax you at is on material, and then they throw their labor in as well. But my crew, we're going to be at about $30,000 all in, maybe 35-ish
To add
to
that
get
much.
it done. So
Okay.
that's a big difference.
Yeah.
But
Well,
so it's
I mean, that's the thing too, is like when you start really getting into rehabbing, you have a choice whether or not you're going to manage it yourself or you're going to get
mm-hmm,
somebody else to do it. You get somebody else to do it, it's going to be more expensive.
exactly.
But the truth is that you can only handle yourself so many, like you said, so many rehabs.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start getting to that point where you're like, okay, like I'm doing 5 now, I need to do more, but I don't have the crews and all this to do that. The question is, do you want to hire somebody to manage all that for you, or are you going to be doing that?
And yeah, and at that point, it's definitely worth the money because you lose sight of your vision. Like, how can I be present at home, like, which is part of my vision, but I'm trying to manage 10 flips? I'm going to be a crazy ass lady.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I've been there.
you can't keep your sanity doing all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I've been there. So that's what I said. So just once you start realizing, like I'm running around like a crazy person. This is too much.
Mhm.
Essentially, that's just to you saying, I really need to hire somebody to manage all this.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Good. That's good. I mean, I'm glad you're doing real successful. But I think also with the wholesaling, you're doing awesome. And, you know, and people are asking about this. So how do you find your VAs? Because like, I mean, essentially the reason she can do so much, like she's saying, is she's setting up her office and delegating a lot of her stuff out. She's building a company up is what she's doing. So talk about that a little bit.
And I'm actually still more hands-on than I should probably be, but we're growing into that season of where I'm delegating more and I'm working with my team and trying to lead and manage them, because they're only as good as my management skills. You see what I'm saying? And my leading skills. They're actually both now on here. But with the wholesaling, when it was just me, I would time block, and I'm still not the best with that, but time blocking helps a lot. And okay, I'm going to do this from 9 to 11, and then I'll set my appointments up on this day. And I'm also I don't have like this massive buyers list. I'm a relationship person. I kind of shop for my buyers. My husband and I now, we currently rent. We're looking to buy. We weren't married at first, so I didn't want to buy because we weren't married. So we rent. I sell houses to the people I rent from, at least 3 to 5 houses a month to them. And like I said, there isn't a huge list. I'm a relationship person, because in a world today where, especially with COVID, everybody wants to find what they're great at, what they're doing. You have a gazillion new wholesalers every day. So what makes you different? That's why I try to build relationships with not just the buyer, but with the sellers as well. And that's where I think my success comes from with that, and the amount of deals and the profit margins is all in relationship building and changing the focus from money first to service first.
I love it. Well, that's yeah, I love that's what said. That's what you said. Your whys are your family and your kids and serving others, which I totally relate. That's what my and then that's really kind of where you should be, you know. So I love that about you.
Yeah.
And I think you're doing a great job. Are you in the Facebook group in the REI USA Facebook group?
I think I did join it, and I need to make
Okay,
sure. I believe I am.
if anybody has any questions, because you know we are running out of time, I highly recommend put your questions into the private Facebook group and then just tag the teachers. The teachers should be in there. All the speakers are in there, so then you can tag tag them and connect with them. Okay.
Yes, and I'm going to add the good, bad, ugly, mucked up scale there as well with the calling script.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I think you're doing great, and I think you're a very good teacher, honestly. So I know you talked and stuff, but
thank you so much. I hope I was able to.
You got a good skill you should hone into. Okay, awesome. All right. Any other final questions? Let me see if we had any final questions. There was like a lot of stuff going through. I think, yeah, there's a lot of questions. So I think honestly, the best thing, because we're going to move on to the next one, is to find Erika in the Facebook group and tag her, and actually do that for every single teacher. They're all in there. I'm pretty sure everybody's in there. So tag them if you have any specific questions or if you want to get a hold of them or anything. Okay.
Yeah, and you can send me a friend request on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram. I just started using Instagram again, so I'm having to look at. I'm simply _ Erika. Let me see. I don't even know I'm simply _ Erika _ 87 on Instagram, and I'm Erika Davis Temple on Facebook. And in the
one thing about Instagram that annoys me, it's like if you don't know what their ID is, you can't find them. I don't understand. I don't understand Instagram.
Yeah.
I just delegate that off to somebody else on my team. Okay, awesome. Well, congratulations on your success. You're doing great. You're a badass investor. You proved it to us.
Well, thank you so much. This was great.